Everyone, Cody Brown here from West Virginia Archives and History, here at Buffington Island Battlefield Park in Meigs County, Ohio. Right here behind me in July of 1863 saw the only Civil War battle that took place north of the Ohio River. And it was also here where General John Hunt Morgan and his raiders arrived, trying to ford the Ohio River here at Buffington Island in July of 1863, trying to get back across the Ohio River into West Virginia after 38 days of waging guerrilla warfare in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee. And that's going to be the topic of today's edition of Mountain State History. All right, so July of 1863 was arguably the most important month of the Civil War. Over in the Western Theater, Union forces under Ulysses S. Grant were laying siege to Vicksburg, Mississippi, which, if surrendered, would effectively cut the Confederacy in half. There'd be no way for the Confederates to receive supplies from the West or have the ability to navigate the Mississippi River. And over in the East, Lee was making his invasion of the North, which he hoped would strike a blow to Northern morale and perhaps encourage foreign intervention, and better yet, capture D.C. and end the war. But what brings us here today is a little lesser-known saga of the Civil War that occurred in July of 1863, which is known as Morgan's Raid. After several weeks of trying to divert Union attention away from the front lines in the Western Theater, Morgan got pretty creative along the way. He actually had one of his telegraph operators masquerade as a Union soldier to send Union forces on wild goose chases, and he also implemented guerrilla war tactics and mayhem every step of the way. But Morgan and over 2,000 cavalrymen were able to successfully lead Union forces on a chase across 3 states before arriving here in Meigs County, Ohio, where they had previously reconnoitered Buffington Island as a place where they thought they could ford the Ohio River. Morgan and his men arrived here in Meigs County, Ohio, where I stand today on the evening of July 18, 1863. Upon his arrival, a dense fog and darkness fell upon them. Morgan also received word that the ford was being defended and decided to wait until the following day to make his way across the Ohio River back into West Virginia. What was to come next was the largest Civil War engagement fought in the state of Ohio, right here in the small village community of Portland, Ohio, on the Ohio River. It was here, and just to the east of me on the Ohio River, where about 3,000 Union artillery, infantry, and cavalry were accompanied by Union naval gunboats on the Ohio River, took on Morgan's Confederate raiders, who had been such a pain in the rear throughout Indiana and Ohio for several weeks. The Battle of Buffington Island served as the turning point in the saga known as Morgan's Raid. On the morning of July 19, 2 cavalry columns led by Brigadier Generals Henry Judah and Edward Hobson and 2 Union gunboats under Lieutenant Commander Leroy Fitch trapped Morgan and his men and the Confederates as they were trying to cross the Ohio River. Morgan's men were beaten soundly. Most of his men were either killed in battle, drowned trying to make it across the Ohio River, or they were taken as POWs that day or in the following days. The battle was an absolute rout in the favor of the Union. The fight itself lasted about 2 hours and resulted in 57 killed, 63 wounded, and 71 captured on the Confederate side. In the days following the Battle of Buffington Island, Union forces captured over 500 Confederates who had fled the battlefield. The battle hemorrhaged Morgan of men and resources, but despite nearly losing half his men and all of his artillery and supplies, Morgan escaped. No worry though, Union fans, Morgan was caught about a week later near Salineville, Ohio, looking for another place to cross the Ohio River. Most of Morgan and his men that were captured were taken to various Confederate prisons, and Morgan himself would land in the Ohio Penitentiary. After arriving at the Ohio Penitentiary in July, Morgan and several officers invoked some images of Steve McQueen and the Great Escape tunneling their way out of their cells into an air shaft. They even pulled a Batman move by using some homemade grappling hook to scale a wall. Using some money that he had smuggled into prison, Morgan purchased a train ticket to Cincinnati and proceeded to make his escape across the Ohio River into Kentucky. Morgan returned to the Confederate Army but was killed by Union soldiers less than a year later at Greenville, Tennessee. See, John Hunt Morgan, this wasn't so difficult. I'm back here on the West Virginia side of the Ohio River. Back over here is the Ohio mainland, and the tip of Buffington Island here, just north of that, was back across where the Buffington Island battlefield would have been across, but not quite as easy of a ford of the Ohio River for John Hunt Morgan as it was for me. But nonetheless, you can kind of get a feel of the distance across the Ohio River that John Hunt Morgan would have had to try to made as he came back in the more friendly confines of West Virginia. All right, guys, so now I've moved a few miles south of the battlefield, and now you can actually see Buffington Island just over my right shoulder, which is actually part of West Virginia. And further in the background is the mainland of West Virginia, just north of Ravenswood. And it's here where we're going to wrap up today's edition of Mountain State History. Hope you guys learned a great deal about Battle of Buffington Island and its unique place in West Virginia and Civil War history. Until next time, I'm Cody Brown. For everyone here at West Virginia Archives and History, thanks for watching this edition of Mountain State History. We'll see you next time. Sure, you go to our website, wvculture.org/history, and go to the On This Day in West Virginia History link and click on July 19th to learn even more about the Battle of Buffington Island.